Hold on one sec. Uh-oh. Hi. Okay, so I'm here today, and I was going to talk about WordPress and how WordPress is the best option for doing SEO and GEO now, as we're all seeing. And I really wanted to talk about I got really excited about this topic. So we know traditional SEO is basically dying, right? And we know that WordPress is 40% of all websites. And I think there's a reason for this. So this isn't to put down the other content management systems, but realistically, WordPress is going to be the best choice for all that's going on in the AI world. Traditional SEO is changing. And so there are certain things that are becoming more and more important, and that is more technical SEO. So when we buy or think about getting a website, oftentimes we're looking at how easy is it to use, or, can I do it myself? And at our agency, we kind of end up upgrading people to WordPress because there's so many more options. And with everything kind of changing and up in the air, it is more and more about AI being able to grab, your source content so you can get found in ChatGPT and Perplexity and Gemini and all the new places, right? So in order to do that, you need good code and not bloated code. So sometimes, like if you're on WordPress and you're using something like Divi can be really heavy, and it's a drag and drop, right? So, but you can correct that, I believe, with plugins. So yeah, if you look at the source code of all the websites, and really I should have someone on here like Greg or Phelan talking about this, but if you look at the source code, um, WordPress is really great with semantic HTML, right? And it's just, so that's one thing. It's going to be way easier for you to show up in all the other sources, not just Google, who we know is losing traffic right now, right? The other best thing about WordPress is the plugin ecosystem. And we use Yoast all-in-one. There's all-in-one SEO. There's Rank Math. There's all these things you can use. WP Rocket, Total Cache. You're going to have a group of plugins that you're going to use, and they're going to help fix things more quickly. For instance, when you're doing SEO, one of the first things you want to do is test the speed of the site, right? Even with Google Ads, one of the first things you want to do, test the speed of the site, because you need to fix that first before you can do anything else, because it stinks when somebody clicks to go to your site and then it takes too long and they're just gone, right? So we see a lot of other sites like Squarespace being used, Wix. Um, they all have limitations, and so when you get WordPress, you have less limitations, but then the world's your oyster. Oyster. Excuse my my fake tooth. Anyway, so in comparing all of these things, you can put the meta descriptions and the titles up, and they all do that, but I've seen lots and lots of times WordPress, Squarespace, you'll put up images and people don't think about the weight of the images. And then the site gets really bloated and really bloated and really bloated. And it's really hard to manage that. Where in WordPress, you can get a plugin, and it can help you size your images. I think you can even get a plugin that can change the image to a WP engine, which is pretty good, right? And yeah, so the third advantage, complete control of your SEO destiny. So there are some things that have really changed with SEO, and we're gonna talk about those in a minute. But because it's not SEO, is it? And there's all sorts of names. There's like GEO, AEO. My God, I feel like I'm singing the alphabet. I saw Neil Patel, and his is everywhere, or I don't know, something everywhere as something. It's everywhere. It's very simple, but it was pretty good. But I also listened to a podcast with somebody from ChatGPT, and they were saying that they don't know what nothing's written in stone. So that's why we're seeing all these interesting terms. Now back to the comparisons. So um, WordPress is just easier to do things. So if you're not the expert, this is why, if you can, when you're deciding on a website, you want to check the code, or check like how well you can show up and what are the downfalls, right? I understand that with a budget, sometimes you can't just build a $10,000 website. However, when you look at moving the website after a few years, the costs are relative, right? And there's, if you actually want to show up, everybody's losing traffic, or there's this weird alligator thing happening um, in Google Search Console. And what that's showing is lots and lots of impressions, but not many clicks. And so we're like, people aren't visiting websites as much. And that's what we're seeing with the AEI. AE. That's what we're seeing with the AI little snippets we're getting. Excuse me. And yeah, the fourth advantage is basically WordPress was built as a blogging platform. So it's got like categories and tags and columns and post types and custom fields, and these all help you. It helps you. And I didn't really think about this before, but I mean, I'm sure it's easy, and some other websites I don't. We have a team to do a lot of that. But the internal linking, the external linking, the way you can do that is really easy in WordPress. So yeah. So there are some opportunities. And now if you're already on WordPress, that's the advantage, right? Yeah, and you can win. And there are just some new things you have to do and consider first when you're doing GEO. So GEO is optimizing for AI, ChatGPT, Google AI Overviews, Claude, Perplexity, instead of just trying to rank in search, which is what we were all doing before, right? You want to use AI tools to cite your content. There are some really cool things to do that is one of the reasons, all the reasons, excuse me, why all the reasons why WordPress is better. Oh, hold on. I wasn't expecting to be pulling up my windows in Ecamm, but they do often help. But never mind, not coughing anymore. Okay, so the advantage, schema, markup. It's easier on WordPress because you guessed it, plugins, right? Plugins can help you add structured data, and the AI tools understand them. JSON schema, FAQ schema, how-to schema. There's all sorts of schema, local business schema, author schema, I think. But as we know with GEO, basically your name, and I'm starting to see this in Search Console actually, the authors are starting to come up, and that's an advantage because if you author your content, you become seen as an expert. And if you're seen as an expert, you fill out one of the E's in the EEAT strategy, right? Which is, I have it right here, do I? EEAT. Anyway, we'll get to that. So when you're optimizing for AI, you're going to do things a little bit more differently, right? A little bit differently. You're going to use schema first. You're going to test the speed of the site. And those are hard things for people to do who are business owners or other marketers, because this is the technical side of the SEO, right? And it's funny because it is probably the best and first things you should be doing on a site to get found, right? And then now, one of the advantages we're seeing is FAQ sections on a blog post or on service pages seem to get found, right? The H2 is still really important. I know Google did say that FAQ schema was dead, but we're seeing that FAQs or H2s are being parsed in Search Console. If you do I call it an itinerary. What's it called, Dylan?
Table of contents.
Thank you, table of contents. So if you do a table of contents at the beginning of your blog, which is something that we were doing for SEO, it will parse the sections in Search Console, saying you're ranking maybe on the 3rd page of Google for this little section. So it's really interesting, but making sure you're doing these little things to make it easier for the AI to go through your structure. The block editor in WordPress really helps with this. It's easy. You can create custom blocks, reusable patterns. I mean, that's for the experts. But what basically you want to know is that we think WordPress is the best. Now, that's not to say Squarespace isn't nice and Wix isn't nice. They're all, we work on them all. We're going to be working on a Webflow soon. And so they all have different qualities, and I know people are on them, but in an ideal world, we'd all be on WordPress and we'd all have somebody doing the different things on our site, like design and SEO, right? So AI is, well, it's here. And one of the most important things is authority with AI. So you really want to fill out your author profile, and it's easier to do in WordPress. I've never done it in Shopify or Squarespace, or so that's another thing, right? Credentials matter. So we want to start putting our credentials up. So we've gone over quite a few things, but the FAQs, the schema, the speed, and now the hierarchy of content, right? So all the SEO things we used to do, we're still doing. We're just making sure the FAQs are there. We're making sure we're implementing proper markup, and we're making sure it's fast, right? Yes, we have switched people from Squarespace to WordPress. We've actually copied the website over to make it faster. Usually your traffic dips a bit and then goes back up. But the whole world is changing right now. So, and especially in search. So we've talked about plugins, proper site structure, that's with tags and logical order. So internal linking, external linking, and WordPress helps you do that. It's got a good taxonomy system, so it's quite it's much easier when you're taught. And I know it can be really frustrating for business owners who are trying to focus on their business and not just their website. So this is why, if you can choose to do WordPress first. It has custom post types if you get into it, right? And so the things that you're probably able to do or already doing, or you should be doing, is make sure you're making fresh content, make sure you're using all the markup like H1, H2, H3, doing all the SEO things, and then doing things like the FAQ section, the authorship, things we used to think were important weren't important, and now they're becoming more important, right? So what content management system are you using? I would love to know. And I would also love to know what you're calling SEO. Are you calling it AEO or GEO or SVSGE? I'd love to know. And just want to thank Greg for letting me be 2 minutes late while I put on my eyebrows. And I know it must have been stressful. And I really wanted to talk about this with him, but here we are. So, there's no back and forth though. So what am I, out of all of this, what am I saying to say to you about WordPress versus all the other content management systems? I'm saying WordPress is like the best, but the other ones can work for now. But I would try to make a plan to maybe move over. That's my opinion and my lived experience. And I will get you a checklist after this, which is great. I have a wonderful blog post that goes into all the details and is a little more eloquent. And yes, I did get AI to help me because it was way more fun. But now it's putting it on the site and doing all the things, and hopefully will show up in generative AI, right? So that being said, I hope you found this interesting. And it's been a hell of a long time since I've done a 20-minute live on my own, but here we are. And let me know your thoughts and if you're going to move to WordPress or if you're already on there. Okay, talk again.